Hi there. So it's jobs day, or payroll report today. Um, I wanted to go over some of the data, the pain, the carnage. I wanted to cover with you quickly why large swaths of our society aren't feeling that carnage. They are not understanding it's there. And then finally, I wanted to reiterate that it doesn't have to be this way. This didn't have to go down the way it has. Um, so I'll share my screen here. Whoops. That's not the screen you need to see. That's the screen you need to see. There we go. So the headline number is this 14.7. That's the number we always hear. I did hear on Bloomberg that the Bureau of Labor Statistics has called some of the data miscategorized, and they say this is actually about 5 points low. So apparently, even the Bureau of Labor Statistics think the headline rate should have been more like 19. But browsing through the report, I didn't see that. And quite frankly, even though that's a huge difference, and it's a discussion of millions of people being unemployed, that difference, it's not really, it doesn't really get in the way of understanding the data I wanted to try to look at today. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of data too awfully much anyway. I just want to help you get the feel of it. We also see that U6, this is sometimes called underemployment, is at 22.8. I don't know what that 5% hypothetical error we were just talking about would put it at. But here's the one bit of good news in this report is when you look on people who feel they're being laid off temporarily, this is where the huge spike is all of a sudden there's a huge influx of people that, no, they're going to have me right back. And I hope they do. But already we do see a ramp and people who think they've lost the position permanently. That's already some long-term carnage. That's already some people who aren't going to be coming right back to work. At least probably not. The real risk, because we're really early in this, the real risk is these numbers changing next month. This is based on a survey. So next month, my fear is some of this, will slosh down here. Let's hope that doesn't happen. By the way, keep in mind, I didn't tell you before, so you couldn't keep it in mind unless you already knew. This data is basically April 12th. So this data is already almost a month old. So when we think about next month, this report next month, we know isn't going to be bright and shiny. Not unless the next, say 3-4 days improve just fantastically. This is going to be bad news again next month. I wanted to, there's factions of our society that talk about hairdressers as if hairdressers are the only thing we're worried about with the economy. I don't know where that comes from, but they would be in the service occupations, I'm pretty sure. So sure enough, they did take a hit. My understanding is this is the line with all your hairdressers. But we can see there's carnage across the board. In materials moving, management. That's interesting, Randall. I hope it's working for everyone else. If not, I'll save off the broadcast and You guys can see it later. That is unfortunate, though. Um, anyway, the point I was trying to make here is you have a range of occupations, and then I wanted to switch to the industries. So we have a range of industries, and I'm focused on durable goods here. But when we look at manufacturing, and you see there's a whole lot of people unemployed, this is a huge spike in manufacturing. This is concerning. I mean, you know, the non-durable goods, these are things you consume, you eat. There are things that hand sanitizer, for that matter, I think would be a non-durable good. A durable good would be like a ventilator or a car. Cars are in there. So we see quite a lot of spike in here. Now, this concerns me because people being unemployed isn't just people not getting income. This is people not building things. This is people not building things to trade with rest of the world. This is people not making food for us to consume, or curling irons for when those looping, you're saying, hopefully why it's okay. Anyway, the point is this is lost time of productivity. This isn't just a matter of lack of income. This is a lack of production, and regardless of what the federal printing presses do, sooner or later, people aren't trading us services and socks and whatever else we're getting from all the different nations of the world for meaningless green bills. Ultimately, it's because we also produce goods and services. We also do things for people. So this represents a monumental loss of productivity, which means a monumental loss of wealth of our nation. I believe it was Kudlow today that said we were putting, by his estimation, I think it was 9 trillion into fortifying the economy, which is substantial. We'll get into that in just a second. But even on top of all the money we're spending, there's everything we're not producing. So this was kind of devastating to me. And I understand it's these Ace sweatpants that disturb me. No, I understand why this market's up. So if we look at yesterday afternoon versus this morning, we see how did the stock market respond to 14.7% of America being unemployed? They said, yes, stocks are up. Now, honestly, some of that is because the number they were expecting was 16 point something. So it is a little better than they were expecting. But I kind of feel like the nation's on painkiller. I mean, there's some people out there who are feeling a lot of pain. And when I talk about painkiller, you know, they're feeling the pain. They don't know what I'm talking about. At the same time, there's a lot of people who are like, pain? I mean, yeah, we can't visit our favorite bar with our buddies, but they don't really get it. And I feel like that's reflected in the stock market. You know, the Dow Jones went from almost 30 down to like 18, and it's already back up to like 24. And news hasn't improved all that much. Here's the thing. This is in zero. This is the monetary base total. This is from the St. Louis Fed. This isn't a politicized chart. This is just the Federal Reserve's estimate of the total economic basis. And we won't study monetary fractional reserve systems today, but this little spike here, this is the money that was kind of written into existence when they talk about the federal printing presses. This is the money that was printed to compensate for the housing market crash. Uh, this is the money that's being created right now. That's not the disturbing bit. Let's look at M2. Look at what happened with M2. This is money including what's in deposit. This is money that kind of people feel like they have. And if you look back at the housing crisis, there was a little bump because we were doing a lot of things trying to make people feel like they have money. Remember the idea of go out and spend, it'll be okay. We had a little of that back in 2001 as well. But whenever we get a little nervous economically, they start injecting money so people feel good going out and spending. Look at what's happened here. In a couple of months, we went from like 15.5 trillion to it's 17.5 trillion. So we increased how much money exists by this metric by about 13%, 12, 13%. That's crazy. Now, but this is why a lot of people aren't feeling pain. And painkillers sometimes a good thing. You have surgery, you're on painkiller. It helps you move around a little bit. I've been told it helps the healing process. I've never really studied that. I have no idea. If your hand is on the burner of a stove, too much painkiller is not a good thing. There are some people who are born without the ability to feel pain, and those stories are usually tragic. Pain is good. Pain is our friend, and this is the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government keeping us from feeling pain. Is it an occasion that it's more like after surgery and it's best if we don't feel that pain? Or is it an occasion more like our hands on the burner of a stove and we really need to know so that we can react? History's going to tell. I'm not going to try to make that determination. I think it's a little of both, frankly. But we'll find out. We'll find out. This is another one of those 50 years in the future problem. So we feel a lot of pain. We're feeling a lot of pain, and we're covering up a lot of pain by printing a lot of money. So I wanted to remind again, going back to the conversation of Sweden yesterday and how much they bent the curve while doing nothing. It didn't have to be this way. Even if it had to be a little this way, it didn't have to be this bad. We could have been educating our citizens in February. I think if I were going to be hyperbolic, I would say January. I've even heard some people argue December, and they're not insane. But February would have been a perfectly reasonable time to start telling people we're going to do everything we can to keep safe. But you know what? Let's listen from the Surgeon General on what we can do to decrease spread of respiratory viruses. And if this thing does come to our land, we're going to be a lot safer. And if it doesn't come to our land, you know what? Maybe we'll have fewer cases of the flu. Had we done that, a lot of people would have been a lot less panicky in March. Now, I disagree with a lot of the actions that we're taking in March and April, but we were looking at some really, really scary data. And, people were worried about what that was going to look like 50 years in the future if they did nothing. I say they panicked, but there was cause to panic. But my point here is we didn't have to get to a point of panic. We could have educated our citizens, let them responded well. I know some people feel like our citizenry wouldn't have done that, and I think to a limited extent they have a point, because we have a history of lying to our citizens. We have a history of deceiving our citizens. If you lie to people long enough, they're not going to trust you when you say, hey, wash your hands. I know that sounds ridiculous, but go talk to people. That's where this is. We have people who think this is a complete conspiracy. Now, you have people who think the data is being cooked, and you have people who think the data is cooked on both sides. And frankly, I think both sides are a little right. But this is not the pandemic of 1918. It was never going to be the pandemic of 1918. This is also not nothing. So act accordingly. We need to focus on getting real data. We need to focus on finding truth, regardless of what our agenda is. And we need a government that's focused on thinking that way. We need a government that cares about citizens being informed so that citizens can do what's best for themselves. We do not need a government that says, hey, look, if we can sell the citizens on this, then we can get this program, or we can get that program, or we can go to war with this country. This is what we need to end. We need to end having a federal government that has an agenda. Its only agenda should be defending your rights and enabling you to take care of yourself. That's all I have for today. I will talk to you Monday. I've not decided on what Monday is going to be. Feel free to message me if you have any ideas for Monday or any day this week. I am going to try to get some guests on so that my pretty face isn't the only pretty face you get to look at. We're hoping for more pretty faces. Talk to you next week. Have a good weekend. Stay safe.